You are now.
Man, can you believe it?
Bring back that beat, DJ.
Can you believe all four of us on the screen? Man,
Wow.
it's been a while, man.
Let's correct this situation real quick and put me down in the fucking in the basement, in the hood, in the ghetto.
Man.
And Wilkes, whenever we were about to go live and you said let's rock it, you know what hit my head immediately? Gotta rock it, don't stop it. Gotta rock it, don't stop. Keep ticking and talking, working all around the clock. Everybody say rock it, don't stop it.
Rock it. Yeah. Let's go.
All right, man. Welcome to the forecast. And the forecast is back together again, man. It's probably been a month or longer.
It's been a minute.
Four of us have been on.
Yeah.
So, man, great to be on tonight. Welcome to the forecast. We review movies, films.
Negotiations were ugly this time.
Serious business out here, man.
Got personal.
Yeah. Films, documentaries, a completely different way, 4 different perspectives. And we pretty much have gone full circle. We've already done season 1 of High on the Hog. Tonight, we're going to start season 2. We're going to do one episode at a time because it is so much meat in this. You cannot clump all of these together. You just can't do
intended.
it. Yeah. Yep.
Sure. Sorry.
So we could go around the room first, man, because it's been a minute. H-Rap, how you doing, man?
Always good, man. Always good.
Good to see you, man.
Good to be seen, not viewed.
Yes, sir. Wilkes.
Doing good. I'm good. Ready for this episode tonight.
Yeah, man. This is right up your alley right here.
Tell me.
I'm expecting I'm gonna have to put you on mute at some point because you're talking too much.
Yeah. You may have to flag me down.
And not H-Rap. King Dog, how you doing?
I'm fantastic, man. I too am excited about this episode. And it just, man, look, I'm ready to rock with it. Let's just say that for sure.
Yeah. All right. So, like I said, we did season 1. Go back and watch those episodes. We did 2 and 2 on the first season. Second season, it seems like they're kind of starting to dive into certain cities and how that impacted us now, and going back to our roots during slavery and during different moments. So we get right into it, kind of give our initial thoughts. Knowing that we've watched season 1, I'll ask this: what was your expectations for season 2, knowing that season 1 was so great? I'm gonna go to the food connoisseur first. Wilkes?
Well, for me, it was mostly let me back up. I wasn't expecting most of the chefs that I see on here because I follow most of these chefs, and I remember these chefs just through the years and growing up with most of them. But I love that they are continuing to connect cultivation of the earth. I love that they're continuing to put a spotlight on those foods that got us over, that got us by, foods that sustained us, which I love that they mentioned this, foods that were there during those late nights of civil rights movement. Just those foods that and ingredients that were brought over, and then the lands that were here, which of course was probably second nature to our ancestors. But I enjoyed it. I mean, I really like that they're starting to incorporate more of the history and why these foods are made, and and why they're prepared, how they're prepared, and what they signify. So I'm really excited to see more and how it's going. I cheated a little bit. I peeked And there was
See, that's a mistake. Don't do that. Because you know we have when we've tried to watch series like this and watch multiple episodes at a time.
Oh no,
we've been getting confused about what's in one and what's
well,
in
I only watched the one, but I when they had them lined up there, I'm interested to also get to the Black Panthers portion of it. So, but that was all. I didn't watch it. I just saw like in the thumbnail. So
yeah, hey, it was hard. It was hard not to go to that.
Yeah, I was gonna watch the
man.
second one. I was like, nah.
It was hard.
I agree with you there.
Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've been told I get texts throughout the course of the shows, and they sometimes they don't want to make these comments on there for whatever reason, but send them to me, so I go ahead and say, just do one more favor, Ben, and ask me. So how you doing, King Doc?
How you doing, King Doc?
Oh, I'm feeling scrumptious, Ben.
That's scrumptious.
I'm delicious.
I ain't gonna call the grown man delicious.
Said I'm scrumptious.
So yeah, man. First of all, I'm gonna go ahead and do what I typically do, right? And kind of read before the show. Ben and I were kind of discussing a little bit how Google, if you just type in "High on the Hog," what comes up immediately, right? And basically, they have a very simple descriptor, which basically says food writer Stephen Satterfield traces the origins of African American cuisine, tracing through lines from Africa to Texas. And considering that this episode had so much Chicago in it, I was just surprised at how they mentioned Texas in that, and I couldn't remember until Ben basically told me about the Juneteenth episodes from season 1 if they'd even mentioned Texas yet, but they had. So this may be that descriptor that is just basically all encompassing for not only season 1 but all seasons to follow. They won't give a new descriptor though. They'll keep it the same. And then on my initial thoughts, the first note I wrote was, and this was probably 2 minutes in, I said immediately receive those good feelings again that were derived from season 1. And that, I mean, man, I can't tell you, something happened in me that I didn't expect. As soon as the episode started, I'm like, God, dog, this feel good again. Like I was getting. That's why in our messenger chat, I put on there, I'm excited about this show because it got some juices flowing that a lot of movies and stuff don't do. And I think that says a lot. I don't think we would have known that only doing the season 1, but because we moved into a season 2, now it's like, okay, we're going back over something again. It's like if there was a exterminate the brute second thing, right? It's probably going to bring up some stuff for us.
Absolutely.
And then in Wilkes, when he talked about his initial thoughts, and he talked about he was glad that they connected some lines or whatever, the term connective tissue came to me, metaphorically speaking. Like there's so much connective tissue between our ancestors through food.
Right. Yeah, and it was knowing that we did the first season. When I don't even know how I really found it. I just know we were searching for something to do, and then somehow it came across my timeline, or I was on Netflix, and it said it was released on Friday. So I'm like, we definitely doing this because this is right up our alley, in multiple different perspectives. So
I mean, most of the things we reviewed already. I mean, they're sitting down eating. It just goes back to eating, but
at some point, at some point,
right.
Even the latest Dr. King thing that we had, when him and the guy made up, it was at the table. He was over for dinner. He was, that's such a such an olive branch to extend, and especially it used to be more so back in the day than it is nowadays.
Oh, absolutely,
right? Like that used to be the thing that going to determine whether we cool or not. If I invite you over for dinner or a meal together or break bread together, that's significance, man. It's I mean, it's just it's indescribable, man.
Right. All right, A-Trap.
It was just a lot of good information, good food. Just made you want to learn how to cook more. So just more things to add to your palate. Toolbox, I should say, not your palate, to your toolbox. It was just very informative, and I enjoyed every minute of it, just like I did last year.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some chats. Blue Streak in the building. Good to see you.
Great freak.
Also, we got my man Shaka Strong in the building. Thank you for tuning in. What's up, bro?
Shaka
Episode
Strong.
1
Shaka strong. Shaka strong. Let me shaka strong.
Yeah, man. Episode 1 was great. I mean, I really had to just turn off the TV because I watch
Yeah.
most of the time. I watch everything with my wife, and she's like, "Yeah, we can watch episode 2." I'm like, "Nah, we turning it off right now.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah, it's
I can't do
hard.
it."
Like,
But it's hard though because it's 5 seconds. Then it's gonna go right into the next episode. So,
right.
but so Steven Satterfield is hosting again, kind of the narrator and the one interviewing different people as he goes into different cities, but also Dr. J, I believe is the nickname that he called her, is the chef and author that was kind of going around with him. Yeah, finger roll. Which I felt like was a good touch as well, because she's got so much history, and anytime she's talking, there's going to be it's going to be a impactful story that you probably have never heard before, and she's just going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So they started off in New Orleans. Now the first episode was called "Food for Your Journey," which, I mean, there's so many different aspects that we could talk about tonight. The Great Migration, the journey of them being Pullman porters, the journey of them, going wherever they were going, going on traveling, however how they were. But so they started off in New Orleans, and I like that clip that they had with the doctor on Good Morning America with Brian Gumbo. That was a nice throwback
Old
right
school.
there.
Yeah, man. I'm with you.
Yeah. I felt like that was a great touch. And so they really just dived into the food in New Orleans. So first I'm gonna say, how many? I haven't personally been to New Orleans before. I know. I think Doc, you have. I don't know if anybody else has.
Dude, I used to go to
touch
New
on that.
Orleans once a year,
Okay.
and it was mostly about the food, man.
Right.
Seriously, the very first time I went, I was fortunate enough to go with this guy who was very familiar with Louisiana in general and all the hot spots in New Orleans to get like tourists ain't gonna go to. Like we going up off Bourbon Street, going up some stairs on the side of this building that if you blinked, you missed it.
Yeah.
And you get up there and there's this restaurant that is home cooking that is the best, seafood. Like it was the first time I tried shrimp Florentine in my entire life. I mean, it was, the crawfish etouffee, first time I tried that. And, hey, man, had some of the best catfish I'd ever had in my entire. That's how I know what catfish is supposed to taste like.
Right.
And why. I mean, think about this, Wilkes. You can speak to this. My mama and aunties now be asking me to make the catfish.
Yeah.
They like, and I mean, come on, think about that, man.
Yeah, that's big.
These is folks from East Texas, man. They know how to.
How they throw
they
down.
be asking me, now we want you to fry the catfish.
Right. No, I understand.
So yeah, New Orleans, man, is a special place, man. When it comes to cuisine, because there's so many cultures that's running together, and how they broke down the word Creole, H-Rap.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard it broke down like that before? And the word Creole, and they tied in the word creator into it and stuff like that, man. That gave me chills hearing that, man.
Yeah. I'd never heard it broken down like that.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, and it reminds me of this before we go to H-Rap. The first time you try food, let this be our first nugget of the day for the viewers. The first time you try food, try to let them serve it the way it was intended to be. Instead of saying, add this, take this off, hold this, I don't like this. Just give it a try first, to how it's intended to be. And I know Wilkes appreciate that, being a chef, right? Being a cook. He's like, man, just try it the way I made it. Because there's a reason why I put what I put in it.
Right.
And even if you don't like onions, think about how many people you've said, I don't like onions unless it's in this and this and this and this. Well, you don't dislike onions. Well, you just don't like them.
Yeah, you don't like them.
You may not like raw onions or whatever.
Right.
So let the chef taste it the way it was intended.
And I know we're going to H-Rap, but I have to put this in here real quick. It's funny because this came up at Thanksgiving, and my wife will laugh and tell you all the time. She actually sent me a clip of this lady on Instagram because she was like, "Don't be trying no new shit at Thanksgiving. This ain't time to be
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Hey,
she knows,
don't be putting a new spin on the mac and cheese.
Yeah, because she knows anytime she wants me to make like lentil soup, and she wants to, I'm like, No, I'm not adding that to the recipe. That's not
Right.
that takes away from what it originally. Now, you can do your own thing, and I don't mind doing those things for you because your palate wants that.
Mhm.
But in the original, in the beginning,
Let
it go the way it needs to go, and then
you know what, man? Even when I go to somewhere as simple as Subway, and they ask me,
Right.
"Well, what do you want on the sandwich?" I said, "Make it like it was designed,
right.
and let me try it that way first, because I'm giving the chef, the creators, some credit
Right.
in the fact that they've tested these flavors, they've experimented already. Let me see how it was intended.
Yeah.
Then if I say, oh, that's got a little bit too much oregano, or that's got,
Right.
the tomatoes take away from it, or whatever, then I can make an adjustment. The first time,
Exactly.
tasted like it. That's what she said. The first time, tasted like it was grown.
Hey. Ah.
That's the first joke of the night, folks. We'll be here all night.
Let it roll. Let it roll.
Hey,
Go ahead.
the first handshake from
Let it
A-Trap.
roll, baby.
Yeah,
All right.
that's what I'm here for. I'm here for Wilkes' laughs and A-Trap's this guy. That's all I'm here for.
Yes.
Go ahead,
All right.
H.
Go ahead.
It was just, it was, I've never been to Louisiana. I've never been. I've always
Really?
wanted to go, and I've been apprehensive about going because I have a shellfish allergy. Now, you know, they do.
Oh,
So
my. Yeah.
it's a bittersweet situation. I want to go. I want to try the cuisine, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to
That's
enjoy
hard,
it.
man.
More
Yeah,
people.
that's gonna be hard to lose
That's
that.
rough.
Give you that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because that's that area. That area is seafood.
Oh, man.
I mean, I can eat fish. I can't
Oh,
eat
okay. Not
crawfish.
Yeah,
I can't
yeah.
eat crab.
But is it a situation for you, H-Rap, to where even being in the room where it's prepared or something like that is a problem?
Initially, really, I'm 53. It didn't start being that way until I was about 51. Maybe no, when I was 49, because since COVID, it'll be pre-COVID, I had just started. Me and my crew, we went to this place called Goose Island, and Steve got some shrimp, and I'm sitting in the ride, and I'm like,
yeah, what's happening?
I'm feeling it because what it is, it comes out of me. It makes it empties my stomach, and once my stomach is empty, I'm cool.
Yeah.
So as I've gotten older, it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
At one point, I could bring home. My children love shrimp, and me and my daughter would go get the shrimp, and she would get shrimp, and it was nothing. So now I can't even be around it. So I really want to go to New Orleans, but
yeah, you can get by with it. You'd have to modify your trip a bit, but there's enough things. Like, for instance, the original Popeyes is there, right?
Okay.
And you know what I'm saying. So you can go get you some chicken and be good. There's enough things that you can do. Huh?
Sister said 48.
Yeah, and you can, like I said, there's enough. The weather there at certain times of the year can be such that you can eat outside a lot, which so you're gonna have some natural ventilation. You follow what I'm saying?
No, it's just that's new. I don't know if that was a one-time thing or what, but that's new. So I don't know. But usually I could sit in close quarters with people and they'll do their thing. But I can eat all kinds of fish as long as it don't, definitely, if it does not hit my mouth, I'm good.
Yeah.
So
kind of like and one of the things they touched on was 200 Black people working in government positions. I don't remember what year, but they were giving a history of New Orleans and also with the food. But they were saying that in that area, we were represented, and we held our own. It wasn't like we were begging for anything. We were in position. So I felt like that was a really important fact when we talk about the city of New Orleans. I don't know if you want to touch on that, A-Trap.
Oh yeah, I mean, New Orleans New Orleans, thanks to Black people, New Orleans played a gigantic role in the shaping of the United States of America. A lot of Haitian Americans were there. A lot of people who were migrating to Haiti was there. Haiti beat the hell out of Napoleon, and when they beat the hell out of Napoleon and the French armies, they had to regroup, and that made Napoleon sell Louisiana and the western portion of the country, the Louisiana Purchase, which makes 50 states, and here we have it, the United States of America. So and then you had a lot of people in political positions, as they mentioned. It was just a wonderful situation down there in Louisiana. And as the one Creole woman said, her grandmother retreated from Mississippi and sued in the Spanish courts and got their freedom. So people don't realize, every time, I mentioned on my program a lot, every time you say the word New Orleans, you almost speak power into the Black community. Louis Armstrong, the Marcellus brothers, it is rich in Black culture, and you should, that's why I want to go there. The only thing negative that I could think about the state of Louisiana is the plume, the emblem of the New Orleans Saints. They used to brand brothers and sisters when they ran away with that thing. So
wow,
when you watch those. So, but outside of that, hey man, I want to go. I'm going to go, but
yeah,
I'm gonna be a little leery.
Hey, Shaka, put that comment back up.
I was about to say,
because I think that's a very deep comment, and it ties into what I said about the first time you try a cuisine, try it the way it's intended. For instance, I'm not an okra fan. I've tried it in every way possible. I've tried it boiled. I've tried it fried. The only way I eat okra is in gumbo. And that's because I tried it the way it was intended. If I'd have been in a situation where I heard it had okra in it, I'm like, no, take the okra out. Who knows what that takes away from it, So very good point, man.
Yeah.
Which is a double entendre, because okra means gumbo, which is within itself. Wow. It exists.
Wow. Love it.
Yeah. It's crazy.
You stay healthy, stay super healthy eating okra as well.
Is a double entendre kind of like a menage a trois? They different. I can't,
They're kind of the same. I mean,
because it sounds nasty. Double entendre, like that's some freaky shit, man. I don't know what that.
They both mind blowing. So yeah.
Here we go.
Do with that with you, man. Do with that with
you. Who you with? Well, we back. All right. So the story you mentioned, A-Trop, was the story of Margaret. They gave it a name, and during that time, to me, that amazes me that she sued and she won, and her family was free. But they were like, man, cheers to Margaret, like for real, to be able to do that. I think that just shows again the grit and the I think the wherewithal that we have. Shaka laughing. And Blue Streak said, "Stop with extra peas, extra peas."
Hey, I'm just asking questions. We don't ask, we don't know, right?
There's no stupid question, right?
It's true.
Right.
So they talked about the okra stew with rice, and they had the Senegal impact on Creole food. I felt like that really hit me.
That was a new one for me, man.
That hit me.
That's one reason I shared that video, if you had time to watch it. But
I didn't. I didn't have 17 minutes to spare with.
That's why I said if you don't have 17 minutes, but that's just me though. It's just like
I watched it or watched it / listened while I was driving.
Oh yeah, you didn't really need to see.
But I felt like because I know people from Nigeria and jollof rice is like a staple. I mean, whatever dish that they make, is partnered with it.
Oh yeah,
or jollof, or jollof. However you want to pronounce it.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I literally have jollof seasoning right now in my cabinet. I mean, it's just what I do. Yeah. It's all, you need it.
Yeah, great. That caught me off guard, but it makes sense though, because our ancestors and where we come from is ingrained in all foods.
I make it a point to go to a Caribbean African / store when I find one, because the ingredients and spices in there, it's like mind blowing. I'm like, salted fish? Y'all selling dried salted fish?
Good night, Mike.
Good night, Mike. I mean, it's just like one of those things where it's just like, wow, I could stay in here all day, but I gotta go. But,
yeah. But that video, Wilkes, you want to touch on that video and kind of how that kind of talked a little bit more about this?
Yeah, it's a webisode or a web series. Bon Appetit is actually a magazine also, but I follow them on Instagram, or not Instagram, sorry, YouTube, And I just found it odd that like weeks before we even talked about High on the Hog, and I didn't even know the second one was on the way. I knew they was coming, but I didn't know when it was gonna, show up on Netflix. But and watching his sous chef pretty much kind of man the helm and prepare the broth, which they didn't talk about in this episode, but how everything in there, the broth is the basis of every meal that they make, and most of it is a fish broth. So I mean, they have like red snapper that they've roasted, and she'll take that red snapper and she'll break it down and just let it simmer for hours, and that broth becomes the driving force, in the beans or in that so many dishes on that menu.
Yeah.
It's I believe the word is pescatarian, if I said that right.
Pescatarian.
Or pescatarian.
Yeah, so it's that's
Pescatarian is, if you take it, that's the religion of, they take Episcopalian and put pescatarian together, and they come up with what you said,
right.
pescatarian. They got the fish god,
Got the fish god together. That became the source of every meal.
But hey, you hit on something very key there, man. That was one of my notes, and that is how long we cook food. Some dishes I got to have 8 hours on.
Got to break it down.
I don't care whether you. Hey, when I make beans, man, my beans I can get beans done in 45 minutes if I wanted to. I got this pressure cooker that is mean as your mother-in-law. Right. Okay, but if I want them to have the flavors that I need them to have, and for that ham hock to get in the way it need to get in, and them onions to break down the way I need them to break down, and all that stuff, let me get it in that crock pot for 8 hours.
Right.
And watch what damage I do. know. Yeah. But too often nowadays we're worried about meals, and you can cook in 20 minutes. Right. And that's all. Some of it.
But here's the other thing. Like
what I do, baby.
All day, every day.
To Doc's point, especially when it comes to a roux or a gumbo base or something like that, you let that soup or those beans sit in the refrigerator overnight. They're not going to taste the same like the night you made them, because now they really got time, as Emerald Lagasse would say, they got time and all the flavors to get married, and they just stewing in there. Beans ain't gonna taste.
You eat them for dinner, you're gonna want to kiss me in my mouth. You eat them the next morning, you're gonna want to marry me. Promise.
Yeah, A1.
Not you, age, right? Yeah. I'm talking about the women's
the women's folks. The women's folks. Yeah. Nah, man. So I really love that series. I love seeing that. And you know what? I love to see, as young as she is, that she's the sous chef. Like, just think about the knowledge that she's gaining, because I mean, you could be a sous chef for almost 5-10 years before, it's just one of those things where it's just, man, it's amazing to see that and how she's driving it, and she'll say, well, this is how he wants the fish sliced or how he wants it portioned, because it goes so far, So it was amazing seeing that. Like I said, it's a great episode. Of course, all that stuff's in my wheelhouse. I'll shut up now. Sorry.
So, A-Trap, tell us what this comment did to you, because you reacted to it. So it brought back some memories for you.
Yeah.
Sorry to be too long, but she'll know what I'm saying when I say this. So long, Krabby. She's laughing right now.
Hell, I'm laughing and don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Long story, but it ends with so long, Krabby.
Man, those crock pot meals, I still remember my mom making. It didn't matter what it was. It was.
I don't care what Instant Pot you got.
It's a slow cook, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, you take your time with stuff. See, it's like this. You hear chefs and cooks and all that all over the world talk about love in your food, right? Yeah. Like you can have 3 different people cook the exact same meal with the exact same ingredients, the exact same recipe, and you can get 3 different flavors because of the intent with which they cook and how they cook. See, Wilkes is one of those kind of people. When Wilkes is cooking, he's thinking about the end user. When he's cooked, when he cooks, right? Yeah. If you don't think for 1 minute that I didn't cross his mind at some point in that chocolate cake, I promise you it did. I did. I promise you. And we had talked about this.
He's not lying. He's not lying, because even when the funny thing was that I even when Thanksgiving was coming, I was like, I need to make another chocolate cake. I made it 3 times. It took me the 3rd time to actually taste it. So I've never tasted it until this 3rd time. Now, Doc said it tasted better the 3rd time versus the first I made it, but I don't know. But
He getting better, y'all.
But the point is,
he honing in on this shit, y'all.
But the point is,
about the corner of the market.
When I'm cooking like that, he is absolutely right. I don't ever have to taste it.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can taste as I go, but to taste the end product, that's not for me. It's the joy and the enjoyment and the happiness the end user gets.
Absolutely.
Because it's not really for me. That's why when we get to the Pullman part of this story, it's just like it's a servitude. And a shout out to Leah Chase. I'm glad they mentioned her in this because very instrumental. And also shout out to Disney because Princess Tina was based on Leah Chase. So yeah, another shout out to that one. But it's one of those things. Well, Princess and the Frog, if y'all don't know that one. But it was one of those things where it was just like when I cook, I'm not really cooking for me. It's because what my grandmother put in me, and I want you to taste it. Mm-hmm. It's what I've taken and tried to just continue to perfect.
Yeah,
I don't take the bragging rights. I don't own it. I just do it, and I want you to enjoy it. That's
it's the way we love, man. You know,
right.
we love through food.
Right.
We show love through food, man.
Yeah, that's why I said I could never taste the same.
I ain't need my mama to ever tell me she loved me. Hell, I tasted it.
Yeah.
Every meal. Exactly. I'm like, she got to love me because ain't no way you fry this chicken like this.
Right. And normally that's right after they give you a whooping too.
That's right.
Right. Come on here.
Now sit down there and get you at the table so I can get you something.
Why you
still trying to catch your mama in breath ass? You done beat your back in and then you bad
man.
You all snorting over there on the chicken.
I put about 600 pounds if I'd have got fed after every whooping.
All right.
What's up, Knox in the building?
Knox. Oh, Anthony. My bad.
Anthony. We got our main guy, Cole Johnson, in the building. Comey Media. He said, good to see you all again. Yeah, man. It's glad to be back. And yeah, man, Blue Streak. Wilkes glows when y'all talk about food. That's awesome. And yeah.
I'm telling you.
This the only thing you can say is not trash.
Man, no, I can't. I can't say it's not trash. No, man. Oh man, I cannot. Even when I see chefs that I have forgotten about as a kid because you didn't record those things. But oh man, what is? Oh my gosh, here we go. Man, I'm telling you, I love food. I can spend hours in a market, a farmer's market, a grocery. I mean, it's just. It's really the end game. I mean, my coworker probably thinks I'm crazy because Nicole, she sits next to me on the other side of the cubicle.
Yeah.
I'm literally thinking about ceviche oils that I could make and blend together with certain halibuts and fishes. Like I'm staring into the middle of nowhere thinking about dishes. So that's just how I am.
So you're basically just thinking about food for the halibut.
Well, I do love some halibut though.
So check this out.
For the halibut.
Yeah.
For the hell
hey, to the crowd. To the crowd. Yeah, I love it. Oh, hey, Wilkes, with your chocolate cake and such, man, that I'm seriously, one of the best in the DFW is at Bob's Steak and Chop House. If you've never had it,
man,
they got a chocolate cake that is
with the magical carrot.
Look here, that chocolate cake, man, is just. But I'm telling you right now. Wilkes chocolate cake is so good. I almost want to take it to the chefs and say, you got to try this. Seriously, that's how good it is. And get their thoughts on it, like their genuine thoughts.
Yeah.
That's how good it is. Thank you, Theodora. Hey, see, Theodora, sometimes my jokes are like up here.
Right.
And everybody else riding at this level. So I appreciate you for getting there.
We call those big brain jokes.
Yeah. I'm curious about this, Wilkes. Do you consider preparing food to be artistic in a way?
Ben, you don't know that about this cat?
Oh, I know.
Are you kidding?
I know that.
You were reading the. Okay, guys.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, a plate. I mean, I'm looking at what foods go with certain colors on a plate, the contrast. Whether it's a black plate, whether it's a carbonite plate, a white plate. If it's if it's ceramic, if it's
yeah,
clay fired.
Let me tell a little story real quick. So we go to this restaurant for a company dinner, and they bring this plate over, and it had like
It's
skulls
sugar
around
skulls.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mexican Sugar is the name of the restaurant. You should try it out. It's an urban. But anyway, he's like, I want to buy that. And we all laughing, and he was dead serious. He bought the plate from the restaurant. So when we talk about plating, it's not a game. We're not playing
everything. And the plate is on my Facebook. I've plated it a number of times. But yeah. Oh my gosh. It is a drawing, because in painting, those are other things I've got from my mom and my dad, and sketching. But that's another form of a canvas, digital art on the iPad. But that plate, when I'm in that kitchen, and I told Doc, I was like, I have to add that young lady to my kitchen playlist, because when I'm in that kitchen, I'm pulling from that. Even though I hear the music, and sometimes I don't hear the music, like A-Trap.
Right.
It's one of those things. It's one of those things where I have zoned out into plating in position, how clean the plate is. I don't want it sloppy. I'm not going to post a picture and you got shit splashed everywhere.
We still talking about cooking, because hey, this shit is like, you just described some shit. I'll be thinking at another location, man.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, man.
It be splashing everywhere. I'll be positioning me. I'll be thinking about that.
Hold it over here and push it back that way. And can she hear the ocean in her kneecaps? So, yeah. What? Oh,
there we go. Wow. There we go. Hey, we in full force, man. I'm
gonna get Wilkes a shirt that says, "What did I say?"
Yeah. Like this. But yeah, I love it, man. I love it. I know we got to move on, but man, cooking is, oh my gosh. When he said, oh wow.
They two in the flame.
Yeah, this is my thing.
Well, put Shaka comment on there, because it never was. I tell people all the time, this ain't your mom and dad's system either. I promise.
Yeah, it's off the rails quick.
Oh yeah. It didn't take long.
Yeah.
Y'all bring back some good memories. Yeah, man. And food, that's what food does.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's what food does.
Yes.
You remember when you were eating this with your family, or when you were telling stories, every film we watch, they're eating at some point. If it's a meeting or if they, just sitting down and talking. So so they went to Edgard, Louisiana, and they were on a boat. And this boat, I didn't hear how long it's been in the family, but the fisherman was saying he was fishing in that water for 30 years.
Well, he said they owned that canal since like 18 something.
I mean, it was
1835 or something like that.
It was a long time, but to hear that, and there's that stigma sometimes that we don't like water, or we don't deal with water, which is false. It's not 100% true.
Right.
Now, we're not gonna be in there jumping in, maybe, but we know how to fish, and we know how to, and that's pretty much what they displayed in this. Anybody want to jump in with some thoughts?
No, A-Trap, come on, baby. I know you.
That's trash.
Trash.
When people say that we're not good in water, that's just a trope.
Yeah, right.
The term Moor means to guide throughout the water, and they used to call Africans Moors.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about the first person on the Maria Anna, the Anna Maria Santa, whatever, the damn pilgrim boats. The navigator was an African.
Right.
You had people over here 400 years before Columbus was born. So when you hear people say that we don't deal with water, that's just another way to just pigeonhole you and make you not look further than you need to look. Most of the pirates in the Caribbean were Africans. Blackbeard is a black man.
Yeah.
So when you hear about these things, most of the pirate ships were Africans that just said, enough. We've taken over. And then they started robbing the ships of people. So, it's kind of...
And that's kind of in that comment that A-Trap just made, and I know we're moving forward, but even I will kind of go into it, but even the gentleman that spoke about the plantations.
Yes.
It was like we want to disconnect from it, but do we disconnect from it because it's reminded us of, I don't want to associate?
That was deep what he said about that, man.
Oh my gosh,
Super deep.
So
made me change the way I looked at it, man.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
when you hear
I never viewed it like that.
Right. When you hear plantation, you immediately go to our ancestors being whipped and forced to do something they didn't want to do.
Absolutely.
Let me shout out his name, Elvin Shields. He was a former sharecropper, and basically he said, "We made it and we own it."
Electrical engineer.
Huh?
Electrical engineer.
Oh, okay, yeah. But the way that he spoke about it really made me change, and I think a lot of us changed our perspective. Is that we built it; it was ours. No, our name wasn't on it, but if we wasn't there, it would have failed.
Right.
So it was a lot of nuggets out of what he was talking about.
I mean, how many times have we, disassociated ourselves with things that was just like, oh, that was just, I didn't like the way that project turned out, so I don't want to have to try to redo that project or reapproach that project.
Yeah.
It's like, well, my family members didn't really understand where I was coming from with that, so I'll just go a different route. It's like you just start disassociating from those things that were painful or they fell through and you didn't want to see them through or see it through to the end. But it's one of those things where it's like you should go back. Maybe you have to tweak some things and then see it to the end. And sometimes it's not for us to see it to the end. Sometimes it's put in place for somebody else to see it to the end because you started that thing. Yeah. So it's really important. Those things are very key.
Yeah. And A-Trop, I'm gonna come to you, but I wanted to say real quick. I think sometimes words are presented or we hear it a certain way, so it diminishes the power that we have as a people. And I think that was one of those words.
Yeah. I mean, even like tomorrow, I will have a clip about watermelon and how it became a trope, a negative. It was attached to a negative connotation. It was really a good thing. So I'm gonna do that tomorrow.
Yeah,
and we talked about that today with the with the box meals. Me and Ben mentioned that today because people, you know how black people are with chicken. Yeah, well, that chicken kept well because you were going to either lynch my ass if I stopped, or I was going to eat this chicken and keep driving, or we're going to pull off and eat it and go. So which one was it?
Right.
So, I'm glad you mentioned that because I wanted to bring this. From time to time on this show, we talk from an entrepreneurial standpoint as well. Okay, and I'm going to put this disclaimer out there right now. In terms of intellectual property, okay, belonging to Ivan Dawkins, King Dawk, the Forecast, and its staff and crew and etc. BS3 Network. But I two things came to mind with regard when that shoebox stuff started taking place throughout this episode. Number one, a book entitled "You Gonna Eat Your Cornbread: The Impact of African American Cuisine on African American Men." Okay, you're gonna eat your cornbread. And then number two, a restaurant called the Shoebox Cafe, which is an homage to that. See, that's what I'm looking for right there.
Yeah,
you hear what? Just sit on that.
Oh yeah,
just sit on it. But it's like see, that's another thing too. When I talk, see, A-Trop was probably the first dude who I really paid attention to who talked about ancestral influence in our lives. Right, first one that I listened to. I heard people say it. But he the first one I listened to about it, right? And since then, because my perspective on it had changed, okay, because I was looking at it from a perception, from my perception, but perspective is looking at it from the other angle. Since my perspective has changed, the information I'm getting has changed and become more powerful, valuable, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, hey, homeboy, look at here. You gonna eat your cornbread?
Hey.
Yeah. And even in the restaurant. And I'm thinking like
this. It's an 8-chapter book. You got 2 chapters apiece with the 4 of us. You follow what I'm saying? Which adds another element of it as well.
I mean,
and there's gonna be some competition in there too. Like I'm gonna be trying my black ass off to try to my chapter gonna be this chapter. You know what I'm saying? Which is gonna elevate the entire
Right,
product.
right.
You follow what I'm
No,
saying?
no,
You know?
absolutely. I mean, even just in that phrase, "you gonna eat your cornbread," I'm thinking about the cars that are pulled over on the side of the road.
Yeah,
We got to eat this, but we got to get back on the road. We cannot
Right.
stop anywhere.
Right.
yeah.
You know, are you going to eat that cornbread? How many people labored to get this meal ready to get you to the place that you need to be? The title of this episode was "Food for Your Journey."
Yeah.
As we always say, food for your thoughts.
Yeah.
So are you going to eat your cornbread has a little bit more deeper meaning
Oh yeah.
than what that just said on the surface. So of
Yeah.
course,
And
in my mind, food, now my mind is going crazy because
and
Yeah.
maybe even at the back of the book you got recipes made up of things that were included in your shoeboxes for the journey. You got a fried chicken recipe at the back. You got a cornbread recipe at the back. You follow what I'm saying?
Are you,
Right.
Ben? You're not able to pull that image from from the Facebook chat, that book that I got.
Yeah.
Not
I
able
can
to
do that.
pull
Yeah.
that.
Keep
That-
talking amongst yourself.
Yeah. So while you're doing that, I wanted to touch on something a little bit that really messed me up at the beginning, right? Where they talked about you had to be 60 kilos to travel. Okay. So, when A-Trap was talking about the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, in order to get on it, you got to be at least 60 kilos. I don't know what that translation is right now into pounds. But in order to make that happen, to fatten them up, so to speak, they fed them black-eyed peas and palm oil.
Right.
Because palm oil would, hold the fats a little bit more, you know. And just think about that and how many people were lost on the journey, man. Which is why that word journey, it's look here, man.
It's a big deal. It goes, it's deep. There's layers to it.
Yeah. All right, I'm uploading that photo right now.
You gonna eat your cornbread?
Now the part that we've discussed numerous times, and this is really in A-Trap's backyard, nearly 6 million. I didn't know the number,
right?
But nearly 6 million headed to Chicago during the Great Migration, which we've seen in so many films.
Wow.
Again, it goes back to the point of food for your journey. That's a long drive.
Right.
And me and Wilkes was talking about this. The light inside your car. For the longest time, I thought that was illegal to have the light on, but it's not illegal. It can be distracting. But I thought about a cultural thing. That's what I heard from my parents. My parents probably heard it from theirs, because if you had that light on during that time, you traveling and they see you, is over for you.
Right.
And I think that's where that terminology.
That's why my mama slapped the shit out of me when I had that light on. Okay.
What kind of light on?
Cut that light off.
As she's coming across your face.
Right, exactly. Flat first, explanation later.
Yeah.
But
no explanation.
60 kilos.
There you go, A-Trap. There you go, A-Trap. No explanation.
Yeah.
60 kilos is around 132
Man,
pounds.
think about how light that is.
138 to be exact.
For a dude, man.
Right.
Think of how light that is.
No, what they say, at least. That's the light.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah,
Think
that's
about
a
how
woman.
Huh?
That's a woman. That's probably a woman.
Yeah, but I'm saying in order to make the journey, they had to be at least that. So I'm sure there's some folks that was having to fatten up of both genders,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But A-Trap, you want to touch on that
Great Migration.
Great Migration.
The Great Migration. Think about this. Think about the very first. I will take you back to the very first episode of this our union, right? Even before we even called it the forecast. One of the first things Doc cracked on me about it. You don't know about this food. And the first thing I said was, nah, dog. Chicago is Arkansas, Alabama, and Mississippi. And that's exactly what they said in this program. That's exactly what they named those three places. And it's a situation to whereas we, this, and here, watch this. Just to tie me into it, just my own personal experience. My great grandmother, Esther Cotton, born Esther Cotton from Mississippi. My great grandfather, her husband, Theodore Whitmore from Arkansas. My grandfather, Richard Pollard, from Arkansas.
Mm.
My grandmother, with the daughter of Theodore and Esther Dolores, my mother's senior, from
Wow.
Arkansas. My grandfather migrated from Rosewood to Tuskegee, Alabama, where he met my grandmother,
Yeah.
Maddie Mae Williams Liggins, and
Wow.
they all moved to Chicago.
Man,
Yeah.
it's like a safe haven or something.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it was the lie told. It's the same propaganda as lie that when I was down there hanging with Doc, right? I was amazed how much integration it was, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And Doc, I ain't in town 20 minutes. Doc then told a man in front of a white man who was a police officer, I should have bought my gun in here.
Yeah.
In Chicago, they'd call the damn SWAT team. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, wow. And this is a black establishment and it's multicultural in there.
Yeah.
Now,
Right.
when you leave the state of Texas, Texas is the most racist place in the world, according to the propagandized news.
Absolutely.
Now, let's go back as Bike Master Flex Shaka Strong, he can attest to. You come to Chicago, you ain't seeing nobody outside of your culture in your restaurant. Now you'll see some white folks in the Mexican joint, you'll see some black folks in the Mexican joint, and of course you won't see the Mexican folks there. But when you go to those places like that lady, the man was talking about on the south side at Lambs, you ain't gonna see no white people in Lambs unless they've been in there with their black significant other.
Yeah, them white people flock down here.
No, and you go to MacArthur's on the west side or Crystal's in the west suburbs where Theodora lives. You ain't see no white people. And it's white people literally, if you drove into Crystal's from the west side, coming from west to east, it ain't nothing but white people. But if you go from east to west, ain't nothing but black people. So
oh man,
it was a lie. It was a propagandized lie told that the North is more applicable to black people, and it was pretty much just jobs up here because I used to work for this one company and I used to help people, and I get y'all the floor back. This one lady from Hurricane Katrina told me, she said, "Sir, I've never seen so much racism until I got to Illinois." So it's just another propagandized lie that, because me, 53-year-old man, I was never sat in a classroom with a student that was not black. Period.
Yep.
From preschool, Beacon House, Ethan Allen, William E. Gladstone, Westinghouse, George Westinghouse High School. Not one non-black person ever in sight.
And to make that story go full circle, A-Trap, and being that police officer, that was Sergeant Wilkes.
Wilkins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who the police officer was.
Let me touch on one more thing about the food and how this not only has this program come full circle, how the programs that we watch are almost seem like it's divinity.
Yeah.
We, and Ben was probably going to speak on this next. Last week, you guys did Bayonet Preston. And one of the people who powered Bayonet Rusted was A. Philip Randolph, who tied right into the Pullman Porters. It ties right into Chicago, which ties right back into Texas.
Wow.
So it's cyclical, the entire situation. And Doc just spoke on the ancestral weaving of the situation.
Connective tissue.
Yeah.
That's what I said. It's levels.
Indeed. Oh yeah. Let me get to a couple comments here. This is by Cole. It says, "I always had a negative connotation assigned to plantation until I attended my nephew's graduation ceremony in one that is currently owned by a black couple." Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely agree there. Shaka, speak on it, King. The way he said how to embrace the word plantation is same perspective on how in our culture the word nigga has been embraced.
Wow.
Right.
Flex.
Man. Hey, we need you in the chat, Shaka, every Monday, man. Come through, man. Cole says there's beauty in moving society forward with ties to our ancestors. That's a great point.
Sankofa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have learned that so many people from Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama migrated to Chicago. People say the same thing about Detroit.
Detroit, Milwaukee, Cleveland, St. Louis. It's the whole same thing.
And that, so a little bit of a sneak peek. Next episode, they're going into Harlem, which I'm assuming that had to been one of those cities too, because
that's more South Carolina, Georgia.
Okay.
More them.
But that was a migration city basically from the South. Because I mean,
the deep
But
South.
think about the significance of South Carolina and this whole cuisine and the African diet, all that stuff, right?
The greatest percentage of Black people in the United States of America at one point were in the state of South Carolina. Mm-hmm. That's what, like, when most of the people that I know in the Carolinas do DNA tests, they test for the greatest percentage of direct African heritage. The Gullah Geechees and those people, they're still there.
Yep. Cole said, my father has said to me, I've been in the South, and Boston is by far the most racist city I've ever been in. A lot of athletes will say the same thing.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's hard for the clubs to recruit people.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah. You always hear they try to shake it, but you hear it all the time.
Yeah. They went to a restaurant called the Dookie Chase restaurant.
You can't tell
that name.
You can't tell a fat kid like me that and expect me to behave.
But one of the quotes of the owner, she was saying what her mom told her was she used to always say, "Come back to the table."
Yeah, man.
Yeah, how many times have we ever did that or heard that? When you have a conversation, come back to the table. Let's sit down, let's eat, let's have a conversation.
There's literally a gospel song that says "At the Table." That song, pretty much, I mean, as they go into their ad libs at the end of that song, there's healing at the table.
Right.
There's hope at the table.
Right.
There's love at the table. You know, at the table. I mean, how many times have I told you guys and Ben at work, there's a show on Netflix right now that I am so in love with called The Chef's Table. It literally has the word table in it. You got to come back and sit down at the table. And how many times have I, at so many different points in that show, I don't care if it's episode 1 of season 2, episode 3 of season 5, each chef in that episode or series has said, I hit a wall. I hit a snag. I had to go back home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had to go back to my grandmother's kitchen. Right. I had to go back to my mom's kitchen. Right. I had to go back to my father's pantry. It was one of those things where they had to reinvent themselves. So that alone is always going to be just that echo of like recentering, because as I mentioned it to my son, don't curse your training ground, because that is literally the area you may have to return to. My grandmother's always said it best. You never know when you might have to go back. Right. Don't curse it. Don't burn that bridge. You never know when you may have to get back there.
Yeah.
And you may have to start it over again and take those things that you've learned along the way and re-implement them. But yeah. So that's amazing to me.
Yeah. And when I think about my family getting together, friends, you know, my cousins or whatever, we have the get-togethers, and all of y'all have been to one of my get-togethers. One of the fondest memories I have is that table and my aunties and my mama sitting at that table and just talking about stuff over their lives, you know, and stuff like that. Man.
Right. I mean, even at A-Trap's birthday party, or even at the, I think we had did we have like a little Juneteenth thing?
Yeah, we had something for the BSW network.
Yeah.
Even though I never sat at that table either time,
we paid attention to.
In my mind, that table was where the women folk.
That's right.
I don't care if they snapping peas and they not snapping peas. That table always will represent that moment of communion, that moment of sup, if you will.
While we were standing around the island line about whatever we had going on.
Right.
I ain't got to check with my wife to do this.
Ain't that right,
time.
baby? Ain't that right?
I mean, even in the Cosby Show, there's an episode like that in the Cosby Show where the men are, they're talking somewhere on the couch or something like that, but the women are in the kitchen gathered at the table. It's just one of those things. That table, there's that word again. It's just that meeting point. So it's just huge. I mean, it's big.
Yeah,
it's big.
And I agree with you, Cole. I was thinking the same thing. As long as it's not the red table talk, we good. Yeah. That bald head scallywag.
Yeah.
I'm talking about G.I. Jane. I will.
Wow.
The most important aspect of Black life is the big time gathering at the table, sharing food and life. That goes to the family reunions, man. When you got the long table, you got 10, 15 tables. You all sitting at it. You all conversating. You all meeting family, reuniting with family. So
yeah, if your family is struggling, you want to, reconnect, start having, I understand you can't do it every night, but have dinner at the table a couple of nights a week, make it required for,
Right.
you got school age kids and stuff like that. Make it a requirement that, okay, on the night you don't have cheerleading, or the night you don't have volleyball, or the night you don't have football or basketball, we all sit at the table and eat family dinner together,
Right.
And I
Right.
promise you, it'll change the trajectory of your family dynamics.
Right. I mean, and your kids will open up more. I mean, they're not talking about what's going on at school. Sit down and have a meal. They will talk about it.
One of my cousins right now, she's in her 70s, and she just told me a story about my grandmother because she was pretty much raised by my grandmother. She went out and she was supposed to be home by 12 o'clock, but she came home about 9:15 or something like that. And she was thinking, now I know this woman ain't sit at this table from the time I left at 5 or about 5 o'clock, and she don't sit here at this table waiting till I got back. Knowing my grandmother and knowing what my cousin, I was like, I promise you, I know she did, because I know who you're talking about. So I know she sat there at that table waiting for you to get in, waiting to hear that key.
Right.
So
right.
I already know.
Right. Like that Silk Sonic song. And they were smoking out the window. Smoking out the window. They was waiting on you.
Exactly. Because we waiting.
We waiting.
Yeah. We waiting.
So, they talked about traveling, the Great Migration. It was either by bus, wagon, train, however they could get there. And that goes in line to what A-Trop mentioned, and we've all kind of already said it, but the Pullman porters on the trains in the 1940s. So this was an opportunity for jobs. They were exposed to different levels of fashion, cuisine, and they were the chefs. They were the cooks. They were the butlers. They were all of it. And this was the guy that made it was George. I think it was George Pullman. Was the inventor of this. But they sat down and they interviewed two gentlemen. One of them, Benjamin Gaines Sr., which he passed away in April, and there was another gentleman, I don't remember his name, but I felt like that was powerful conversations that I don't think I had a full understanding of. That was a career, and that was an opportunity for them to get away from where they were. So Doc, I want to go to you first.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. And one of the things that stood out to me, again, because this is High on the Hog, we're talking about food, and they talked about that was the people would get on the train to eat good food. It wasn't because they were trying to go nowhere. They knew that's where the best food was.
That's where the best food was.
And we was the cooks. And they talked about the difference between the food that they prepared for the patrons of the train versus the food they prepared for the staff. And they we ate good too, but they started talking about the season and stuff theirs had on it. So, they may have been taking the leftovers, but they was grubbing too,
Right.
So I just thought that was super cool, man, and the opportunities that it presented. And what I wrote down about that was the exposure, man. And he goes, access leads to exposure, which leads to a broader vision. When you're exposed to something, that's why I talk about travel. We're talking about this journey and stuff. And when I'm giving couples advice or people advice, I talk about getting your kids out and traveling, even you traveling, because it exposes you to something that will broaden your horizons mentally spiritually, emotionally, that'll carry you so far in life. Think about all the successful people we do shows about, and they talk about how my life changed when I traveled over to Mecca, or my life changed when I traveled to New York and I saw
Right.
this or I saw that, you know. So I think that's huge, and it happened to be surrounded by train travel.
Yeah, yeah. A Trap.
But it was very interesting, and I was slightly disappointed. And it was because the Pullman Porters are big here in Chicago. That was a field trip for us. 115th and Doty Road here in Chicago, on the far south side of Chicago, they have a entire community where the Pullman Porters have houses built, and that's where you live when you were a Pullman Porter. I was hoping that they would, even though that didn't have anything to do with the food, but
Yeah.
you brought up the Pullman Porters. So I was kind of hoping that, so I was slightly disappointed. But other than that, it took me back to reading the book about Malcolm X because he was a Pullman Porter. And if you watch the movie, when he slapped the dude in the face with sandwich, he said he used to pretend. Because when the dude said dude kicked him in his butt, he was ready to bust him in his head.
Right, yeah.
He got to the book Malcolm X, and Malcolm X used to pretend to slap the people with the sandwiches because they were that rude and disgusting to them. So it was dope.
I think the Pullman Porters deserves an entire documentary on its own.
Really?
You know,
I think it is one out there.
Oh, there is. We got to do that. I mean, because there are, they had Benjamin Gaines, who was a Pullman Porter. So there are people that are still alive that he's either done it or their kids. The other gentleman, his dad was a Pullman Porter, and he talked about how when he came home and how he exposed them to different things. So I felt like that was a well-needed piece. And so for those that are thinking, okay, this High on the Hog is just about food is really like the smallest aspect of this. This
It really is.
It's about our history, which is included in food, but it talks about so many different things. So if you have not watched this, go ahead and watch season 1 and then catch up for season 2.
One more thing, that insult George, I was familiar with that.
That was due to me, man.
That was another one. That was another one.
Me and this dude named Daniel Parker, both our grandfathers were friends. And we used to be like, if we was about to check somebody, we'd be like, okay, George. And none of the kids knew what we was talking about, but me and DP knew. So when he said it, I was like, and immediately it went to head, okay, George. Because okay, George. And they thought, well, you calling me George. And we was like, it's kind of,
never mind. Yeah.
So your
inside joke. You don't get it.
Big brain joke.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wilkes, you want to touch on any of that?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I've heard this not term. I don't want to say term, but I've heard this before. This setting and I can't really remember where. I feel like Eyes on the Prize may have mentioned it at one point, but I mean, to get to that point of if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it the best way I can because this is my livelihood and I'm going to make this thing my own. This is another form of the plantation. I'm going to grow this thing. I'm going to nurture this thing. So, that Pullman segment was kind of refreshing to me because, like I said, I've heard it before, but I didn't really know of it. And of course, the host, his dad being a Pullman Porter. So, definitely huge. Now, I have to say, the gentleman that was, I believe he was already 96 or 98. He was almost 100. That slow walk down the cabin of that train.
Yeah, man. Wasn't that powerful?
Let me tell you something. It was like him walking into the arms of the ancestors or patting him on the back. It was like, you've done what you needed to do. Yeah. That it's like you lived this long to tell that story repeatedly, but in this moment at the table, once again, you're sharing these things, and he possibly, which I don't know how soon he had passed because he had a meal at the table, but just that walk down that cabin of the train was just, oh man,
that was perfect cinematography, right?
Yeah,
it was perfect.
It was big. It was big.
I mean, you had to do that.
It was a book.
Even with the lamb chops in that when they were sitting down, man. Yeah. Think about the big gap that there was in African American culture and our what we had on our table. Like we never had no doggone lamb chops as no
Right.
kid, but apparently back then they ate it more frequently.
Yeah. Yeah.
As if it was ours first. You follow
Right.
me? And
Right.
then now all of a sudden, our community, our culture is all over. You can't scroll through Black Twitter or Facebook or whatever and not see somebody
Instagram, yeah.
figuring out
Yeah,
some kind of way to
because-
cook lamb chops.
Yeah,
or a
because
Black
the big-
restaurant nowadays.
Yeah, because the biggest thing was like, oh, what that tastes like, or oh, it's kind of gamey, it's kind of musty flavor. I don't like. Yeah, you can manipulate it. Trust me, anything can be manipulated when you hit that skillet. So it's one of those things where, lamb chops.
Are we talking about food or are we talking about something else? Because you say anything can be manipulated depending on how you hit that skillet, baby.
Hey, you can take it any way you want that one.
come off the top rope. Look at
it. Come on, baby. The figure four. But yeah, man. I mean, but I love to see it. As for me, because and I don't know how you gentlemen view it, but just as a kid growing up, like we always say, the kids are listening. When you hear Black people, oh, you eating that white food, or you eating, you going to them white restaurants,
and they don't even know half the time.
Right,
man. What do you mean white restaurants? What do you mean? Because half the shit we brought over here, obviously. Right. So I mean, it's like one of those things where I love to see that Black people are branching out with their flavors and their palate, and they're enjoying things that they didn't think they would eat because it's like, and I get it. Some things you're just not going to be with, but I love to see that now. I love to see you go into those restaurants. I love to see you owning those restaurants and that embracing that culture that has always been there because it's been so, I guess, minute, or it's been on the back burner. But yeah, no, it's great.
There's a city called Pullman.
Or a
neighborhood.
It's just a neighborhood. Okay. Which reminded me of that portion in South Dallas I was talking about right there, where all the doctors and the lawyers and the judges, they lived. I cannot think of that area, but it literally has a landmark.
You said it was in South Dallas, or
it's in South Dallas.
You're not talking about Hamilton Park or here, huh?
Oh, I'd have to look it up, dog. I'm not sure because when it's not far from the rail station where they keep the DART rail system, but it's like literally when you turn into that neighborhood, there's a landmark right there, and it tells you the history of that neighborhood. And those houses are gorgeous, but it's one of those things. When I heard that,
and it ain't Hamilton Park, man.
I don't think it is. I have to look it up. I don't think so.
And right
now, but this is a great comment, Cole.
Right next door to that neighborhood he's talking about, where all the Black doctors and lawyers at, they call it Peel Hill.
What hill?
Peel Hill.
Peel Hill. Wow.
It's like Hyde Park, Peel Hill, Pullman.
Yeah. Man. But that's another part of our history where we're given an opportunity and we take it and we run with it and we make it our own. And that's like I said this numerous times.
Right.
God has given us that ability to, you give us something, we gotta flip it, and we gotta make it taste the best food you ever had in your life. If you didn't think it was gonna taste that way, so segue Southside Chicago's cuisine, which they talked about this place, Virtue. Have you been there before, or have you seen it?
Oh no. That was funny. I was looking at this and as Flex would tell you, Bike Master Flex, him in Shaka, we call him. The funny thing is, and I heard it, and Shaka can attest to this, it's a civil war going on in Chicago in the Black communities. I'm from the West Side. I was raised on the North Side. Shaka's from the South Side. And you can hear them let people, like if you were Chicagoan, you heard them say, oh no, this is the South Side. They was letting you know, South Side, not just Chicago, South Side. And I was laughing. I was kind of laughing. Now I have never been to that to that restaurant, but the area that he was in was they were 100% correct. Scoop Jackson lives in that neighborhood. Farrakhan lives in that neighborhood. Obama lives in that neighborhood. Jesse Jackson lives in that neighborhood. Sammy Davis used to have a crib in that neighborhood. Muhammad Ali used to have a crib in that neighborhood. So they were 100% correct. But you, as a Chicagoan, you heard, like, I was offended. I'm not gonna lie, because I was like,
yeah, that
"What
makes
do you
sense.
mean?" Right. I was literally, the Chicago showed up. I was like, relax. Because y'all, if I don't say this, y'all will never know. Because y'all just thought they was repping the south side of Chicago. And I'm not quite sure. Flexing on, typing in there in a second. Like, I was offended. Like, what you mean? The best. Because it's a civil war. And once you leave the 606, or once you leave Cook County or the state of Illinois, we're Chicago. But when you're in Chicago, I'm south side. I'm west side.
Yeah.
Like, I can remember years ago, my son is 30, and I asked Nicole, I say, your parents from the west side, right? She was like, yeah. I said, all right, cool. She's like, why? I said, I ain't want my kids to be biracial.
Hey, man, that's a robbery right there, for real.
That neighborhood is rich in culture. That neighborhood is on fire all the time. It is biracial too, but our footprint is all over that neighborhood. Black people. We Hyde Park, the neighborhood that they were talking about, didn't even used to be in Chicago. That used to be a city, and Chicago bought it. And so when I was watching it, I was like, I ain't gonna lie, I was like, mother. I was like, punk ass Southside people. And I was like, okay, cool, relax. No one knows. And I literally fought all day. I was like, I'm not gonna bring that up. But
hey, man, you got to though. You got to, because you're from that area, from that city.
Hyde Park is a dope area.
Yeah.
And then, like my sisters, they're Harpers. And I remember my mom used to take us to the theater on Harper's Court. So it was kind of dope.
Yeah. And there was a comment that the gentleman was a podcaster, I believe. He was sitting at the table again. Right. Sitting at the table again. And he said it went from 2% to 33% Black people during the Great Migration. Which, if that is amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That is amazing.
Jeez.
Shaka saying, I haven't been to Virtue. Very, very popular. They have a vegan option. Yep, South Side, West Side has a love-hate relationship. West Side folks have a salty point of view with South Side. And that sounds like Oakland to me, because that's very similar. West Oakland is different than North Oakland.
Bro.
And East Oakland,
Oakland, Chicago, DC are the same city. We got this. We even use the same slang. You would be shocked. You remember being down there at the school? You couldn't tell a DC person from a Chicago person. Remember?
Yeah, true.
And true. Oakland people, Oakland, DC, Chicago, that's the same town. It's just in different places.
Yeah. That's a great point. And he had his own in the restaurant, his own version of the shoebox meals. Which he had I think it was some type of dessert. Was it a cake or a pie?
Pound cake.
Yeah, pound cake. Which I felt like
that's one of the recipes. That's one of the recipes right there. We'll study it on the back of the book.
Yeah, because it's definitely, once again, it's a meal that holds up. It travels well.
Yep, travels well. Exactly. And I felt like his touch, and Wilkes, that you mentioned, that touch on this. Just the little intricate pieces that he had in each meal and how it was plated and how he explained it to me was
that's why and that's why, going back to the question or the thought that was mentioned, the comment that was mentioned earlier, plating generally for most chefs, for most cooks, plating is it's a story of something. For some reason, it's a story of, I remember my grandmother in the kitchen. I remember my mom in the kitchen. I remember the elders would say, so it's a homage to those things. It's a big deal. So when I plate and when I look at certain plates, that's why I said the contrast and the colors on the plate and the positioning of the plate, it's everything. It's not just, oh, hey, look what I made. yeah, it's deeper than that for me, because it's one of those things where, let's say if I make collard greens, meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and macaroni and cheese, that's not because, oh man, that's great. No, that's because I remember that on Sundays after church. So now how do I elevate that to represent my grandmother, because she taught those things, or she introduced those meals? If I make breakfast for dinner, how do I elevate that breakfast? Because my grandmother, when we didn't have much, but I swear to God, when she cooked, you thought you had everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I cook, when I plate, it's a personal thing. It's a sentimental thing. Yeah, and it's also a fun thing because, like I said, I love to do those things. But it's usually a journey for me. I'm on this path when I'm cooking. When I make gumbo from scratch, when I'm standing there with the flour in the pot, and I'm stirring it literally for 45 minutes, arm hurting, making sure it don't burn. I love it. I mean, it's just one of those.
Gotta get that roux right.
Gotta get that roux right.
Yeah, and you got, when it comes to positioning, you can't have your greens next to your mashed potatoes and get green juice out of your mashed potatoes. You got to have a divider called cornbread. Shit.
Yeah, because you don't have enough white people swimming in your juice, and you can't have the white people swimming.
Okay, let's get the final thoughts, man. Let's get the final thoughts.
What happened?
Let's get the final thoughts.
I'm just saying, you can't have them all mashed up in your shit. What? I'm not sure what's
wrong. Yeah, what I say, nothing.
Let it roll, baby. Let it roll. Let it roll.
So as we do some kind of on the air discussing, I think we just do a rating at the end. I want to do a rating.
Oh, I guess every when a culmination.
Oh yeah, each episode. Yeah. Each episode, as far as
each episode should get a rate. I think so.
I think so. Yeah.
You think so? I was just thinking we just rated at the end because
I think we get one on.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think each episode is strong enough to stand on its own.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and plus, if one episode happens to not be as good as another one, I want us to be able to talk about that at the end of each episode. So yeah, I'd say we do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Final thoughts and mic rating. If you're tuning in for the first time, we rated 1 mic to 5 mics. 1 obviously being the worst, 5 being the best. And you can join in the chat. Give us your rating. We're gonna go to.
Fair for me, I like to cook.
Now that's why this is fair for you, because we got to get them opinions. But all right, final thoughts on my rating.
I mean, like Doc said earlier, I mean, it was literally a lightning rod. It was a repositioning of what or where we left off on the last season. Mm-hmm. I mean, it didn't miss a beat. I felt like they didn't miss a beat. I felt like once they traveled from season 1, they were still traveling in season 2. Having the doctor there with him and sitting down at the table and watching how she responded to the meals that were being presented. And let me just say, man, the black eyed pea fritters, don't think my mind was not going 1,000 places.
Please, let me look at her.
Hey, what?
Hey, we right around the corner. We can taste this.
Man, and I didn't know black eyed peas was green, man.
Oh yeah. Oh, natural before they're ripened. Yeah, before they're ripened. Yeah.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, before they're ripened. When you see, that's the things I miss about the farmers market when I would go with my grandmother and her sister, because all those beans that had different colors when they were freshly picked. But anyway, no, I'll shut up because I'm going on. I know it, but as the pastor would say, I'm running on. I'm over my time. I know Sister Jenkins got to check on the meatloaf and the pot roast. But,
I'm getting ready to close.
But I'm going down somebody's street. But I'm going to close. I'm going to wrap it up. But I have to put this. I want to say a 5 so bad, but that's just because I love.
It's a 5. It's a 5, man.
I'm going to have to give it a 5 because, I mean, if I could literally, which I probably could, if I could put on a plate what these episodes do for me and the chef's table and High on the Hog and the connections, it's just everything. I mean, just watching my grandfather lean in the kitchen and shuck those peanuts because he's about to roast them to make a praline with those, it's just,
oh my God.
Oh man. Oh gosh, man. It's big. So I have to give it a 5, man. I love ingredients. I love cooking. It's just one of those things, man.
Yeah. Hey,
I have to give it a 5.
No question. All right. Doc.
Let me just say first, I'm gonna give the um, Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. IMDb says 7.7 out of 10 overall, and Rotten Tomatoes says 100%, which you don't get on Rotten
It
Tomatoes.
better be.
Right? 100%. What I'll say is we talked a lot about the ancestral practices and ancestral ties and inspiration and connective tissue.
Right.
And Wilkes, I was thinking about what we did this past week in
Oh,
exchanging dessert. Friday night, Wilkes like, hey, I got this chocolate cake I'm gonna bring. I wasn't at home. I'm like, okay, well, I'll unlock the door, just go and disarm the alarm, just go and set it on the counter.
yeah.
Oh, while you in there, gone, there's a whole sweet potato pie in there. Grab that. Oh, okay, I got you. Oh, and then in that other plate, you see that other plate next to it? There's some pineapple cake in there. Get you half that plate,
Yeah.
and take that with you
Yeah.
too. You know.
Yeah.
So
Which is
even
amazing.
what we do, right, is some of those traditions that are bygone.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
where you're sharing food like that, and you're connecting through food like that. You know. So to our viewing audience, whether you're watching this tonight, whether you end up watching this later, I
Yeah.
would say incorporate some food traditions into your family. Whether it be like I said earlier, and sitting down and having dinner at the table a couple of nights a week, or
Yeah.
being more intentional about having dinner parties.
Right.
Inviting.
Oh,
Cole made a comment earlier about being with 3 other couples having dinner.
Right.
And how powerful it was, and how potent and beautiful it was. So incorporate those kinds of things, because there's food ain't
It's
just no,
right.
it's something to it. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a connection. I mean, and if you really, 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 really get deep, sometimes you may be in a situation where that chicken got that's got some connections to your great, 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 great.
Right.
They might have
Right.
the same DNA.
Right. Right. Right.
That Angus Brangus.
Right.
You know, you feel me?
Yeah.
So
And when you taste it, you may be like, man, this
yeah.
tastes like my
It's
grandma.
something.
Yeah.
It take you. I done heard some people say. I think it may have been even Steve Harvey that said he took a bite of something one time, and it reminded him of his grandma. He said, "Man, he was just sitting there crying like a baby at the table."
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I mean,
folks just, they don't get it, man.
it's funny, real quick, to Doc's point. I mean, even when they were sitting down at Dakar, that restaurant, and there was a comment made, how many times have you cooked something and it triggers? It hits a nerve, and it's like the way that salt or the way that pepper or that aroma or that it's like, man, I remember my grandmother or my grandfather, my mom would, or how that bread would taste. And it's like, man, wait a minute. I mean, I've seen things where people were in their 70s and they're crying because, man, that tastes like my mom's, So for me, it's one of those things like, you better damn well know I'm trying to strike a nerve when I make this.
Matter of fact, we might have saw something like that on season 1 of one of those episodes.
I think
where this dude started crying or something.
Yeah, Satterfield, he was crying about when he tasted it or smelled it.
Yeah.
And also another thing, to Doc's point, how many times have I heard my grandmother go next door and ask Miss Birdie, can I get 3 eggs?
Yeah.
Or I don't have enough salt to finish this, or this sugar or something. Man, oh my gosh, those things were just, man. Miss Birdie. That was her name, Miss Birdie.
And I forgot to give my mic. Mine is a 5 as well. It was not even close. It was the easiest 5 I've given out from it.
Oh yeah. All right, A-Trap.
Great stories, great history, great location, great cuisine, great people.
Yeah.
Was,
hey man, it's a 5 across the board. And to Doc, you said this earlier. I haven't been because we've done a few. I think we've done a few sequels, maybe 1 or 2. But this one I was probably most excited about, because it was so much in that first season. I knew this next season they were going to take it to a whole another level, and they were going to dive into a lot of different pieces of it. So it's an easy 5, and I can't wait till next week, man.
I can't tell you. I mean, I know A-Trap's going to give his thing and close us out, but I cannot tell you. Even just like sitting here talking about this. And like I said, when I'm at work daydreaming, I'm literally just like, my brain is, what am I going to grab from the store? What is my wife going to ask me? What do I need from the store? Yeah. Oh, trust me. The weekends, is when I'm on demon time on the weekends. Yeah. But I'm and trust me, and Doc is absolutely right. When I put that flour and that egg and that Dutch cocoa, which was the imported Dutch cocoa, when I put them ingredients in that bowl, I could not stop thinking about H-Rap's birthday party. The moment we had the, I think it was a Juneteenth sale or something like that, or no, it was a BS3 celebration or something.
Yeah.
But
summer party or something.
Those things are connected, like he said, connective tissue. Those things are connected to me. The energy, the music. When I'm making homemade raviolis, whether they're deep fried with just mozzarella or they're just fresh mozzarella, or crab stuffed raviolis.
When the moon it dry like a beef pizza pie tomorrow.
You better
He
know.
was waiting, man. He was waiting on
that.
He started leaning in. He was waiting on that.
Man, you better know. Google play my shit because I'm gonna get in here, baby.
I freaking love it.
You got the Samuel Jackson on the Alexa.
Oh my god, man! It's just those, man. I'm pulling, man. I'm pulling. Trust me. Yeah, even the Christmas music my grandmother would play when she's making homemade fudge with pecans. Hey, run this around the corner and get that to Miss Coulter.
Yeah,
she got the tins with the homemade fudge. And I'm like, come on, man.
Love it, man.
Yeah, man.
It's all in my wheelhouse, man.
All right, so next week we will do episode 2, the Black Mecca. So man, get locked in with us on this next month. Hey, it's gonna be probably our best one of the year because we about to kill it.
I even had Cab with the show tonight.
Hey, Cole, you inspired me. I see. Hey, you sung enough on Snowman in the morning with Cole Johnson.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Shaka.
Yeah, appreciate you. All right. So what's coming up tomorrow on?
H-Rap did he give us that? Oh, he gave 5.
Yeah.
Hey, this was the easiest 5 for the whole crew.
Yeah.
All right. What's coming up tomorrow on the end of the bench?
I don't know yet.
Yeah,
that's all right. That's okay.
Hey, it's gonna be
that's
the best show tomorrow.
Some of the best shows.
I love the one about Who's Armed, and I love that episode. That was a great episode. Who's Armed? That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Great episode. They're all great. But
well, yeah, you got a title. I think you got a title, right? Because I think it was.
Yeah, it's the finish line, but I got like 15 things, and I condensed it down to 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know yet.
Tune in. What time tomorrow, bro?
Tune in.
6 p.m. Central Standard Time. End of the Bench Media. Yeah, I it's a lot going on right now, and I just don't know which form I'm gonna use. I got put like this. If y'all can see it, I'll show you. You can see it due to the green. Oh
yeah.
That's how I got. So
you might have to do a part 1, 2.
I gotta send me the list, man.
Yeah.
King show.
So it's gonna be. The funny thing is, I was inspired a lot by the show tonight.
Love it.
Hey,
that's the way it's supposed to work, man.
6 p.m.
I'm humble.
6 p.m. tomorrow.
Suggestion. This is Wilkes' wheelhouse. Let's say we let Wilkes do his rating last every week. That way he gets as much time as he needs.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I can do that, man. I'm telling y'all. I mean, but y'all see that on my Facebook. Ben probably tells me to shut up in his head at work because I'm constantly. Oh, and the fact that
you good, man.
I didn't share this and I didn't post any pictures from Thanksgiving, but since I smoked a duck and I smoked a turkey.
What that duck do to you?
He quacked. Damn it!
I smoked that
Yeah.
These quacks. I have to say, my German Shepherd, she is going insane because I took the gizzards I took the liver, I took the heart, and I took all those together. I took it from the turkey and the duck, and I made foie gras, and I made her a homemade liver pate.
This
And so I mean,
Yeah,
it
man.
was amazing.
right here, man.
I was like, I can't throw that away. I gotta make my girl. I gotta make my German Shepherd.
Hey, after that show at one night in Miami, I bet you did not think you were going to hear foie gras on the podcast or liver pate, motherfucker.
Homemade.
I used to buy my pit bull livers.
I'm telling you, they love. Oh man, as soon as I kid you not. As soon as raw is fine. They love it, and like she was going nuts as soon as I took that out of the package and I set it to the side. But once I said, I was like, you know what? Let me save it. Let me sear it, and let me saute it in butter first. And when I sauteed it in the Irish butter, I blended it. And then I put it in this glass and I let it sit for like 6 hours. Oh my God. I put it in her dog food. Yeah, the dog bowl was like under the table. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, push it all around.
Yeah. She was going insane. So yeah, she eats probably better than I do. So I gotta make sure she's good. She's something else.
Yeah.
All right. Queen 3 and King tomorrow.
See that smile right there?
Trust me.
I just let the audience get your pictures and shit in right now. Because one day you're not gonna be able to be this close to me. Hell, I'm just telling you right now. Ain't nobody come to see you, Otis.
Right. Exactly. Get him while you can.
Tomorrow on Queen 3 and King, she's a 10, but she don't clean up. She's a 10, but she don't clean up. Does that matter to men nowadays? Do we really, with folks like me and Wilkes at the house, you think we really give a damn about whether you can cook or clean? We're going to find out tomorrow on Queen 3 and King with special guest host John Lewis of Man Talk Monday. If you think I'm a fool, he's a fool.
Turn it up.
So, and when we together, we trying to out-clown each other. So tune in tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Tuesday, BS3 Network. You can find us on Roku TV as well, YouTube. So please, just like this show, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, do the same thing tomorrow. We appreciate your support.
All right. All right. So before you close us out, H-Rap, real quick, there's been some cool updates to the BS3 TV Roku channel. So if you have the channel, go to it. You may have to update the channel, or it should do it on its own. But there's a lot of our partner has updated the channel with a lot of nice features. You can also search. So there is a search option, so you don't have to just scroll down and try to find it. So check it out. Next time you go to the app, check it out and let us know what you think. So, A-Trap, go and close us out.
It's a new year, so I'm going to close us out with something different. Now it's time to say goodbye to Ben and all his friends. I would like to thank you folks for kindly dropping in. Everybody back next week to this locality. To have a heaping helping of his hospitality. Hood Billy's, that is. Let us back. Take your shoes off.
I love it.
Come back now. Yeah.
I love it. DJ.
Peace.
I love it.